Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. We are here to talk about how to drive e-commerce ROI with a personalized content experience, one that my co-panelists here are uniquely qualified to talk about. Tom, you want to say hi first?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Tom Fleury, Chief Commercial Officer at Amla Commerce, the parent company of Znode.
And Sergey?
Hello, everybody. Sergey Sokolov, Director of Product for Sitefinity.
Thank you both. And I'm Scott Snowden. I'm one of the partners at Flywheel Strategic. We're a very well-established, longtime Sitefinity partner and an established Znode partner as well. We have been working on integrating the two platforms, and we're excited to show that. We're going to do that in a little bit and give you a better appreciation for how Sitefinity, as a purpose-built digital experience content management platform, can help you elevate that experience, especially relevant when it integrates with Znode, a purpose-built, highly powerful e-commerce platform. And it really does have that B2B scenario well understood and well solved for. Um, if what you're listening today is enticing, interesting, if you're curious about it, get in touch. We'd love to just have a conversation. We're not here to push anything on you that isn't appropriate. So we'd love to understand a little bit more about your scenario, your business, and we'll show you what we're demoing today in more detail. We also have a readiness assessment. So if you just want to understand if this is even the right thing for you, your situation, your business, let's have a conversation about that too. We'd love to get you the resources that help you advance your digital experience, regardless of the situation you're in. Hopefully, we can help, but at the very least, I bet we have some resources to point you in the right direction. So, with that said, and some introductions out of the way there, thanks again, gentlemen. I'm going to chat for a little bit. We're going to chat for a little bit about sort of the problem situation that we see, the challenges that we face with this, scenario. We're going to talk about the opportunities that the platforms bring forward, the opportunities to unlock that these platforms bring forward. And then I'll show you how we're actually solving this and what you can actually do with Sitefinity and Znode together. So a bit of a conversation and then a bit of a demo. And we want any questions, feedback, comments, pop them in the chat along the way. We'll do our best to answer those as we go or at the end. So don't hesitate. Just, in the flow of the moment is perfectly fine. Tom, let's start with you, sir. This is your everyday, the B2B e-commerce space. Speaking about some of those challenges that are relevant to our conversation today, what are you seeing in the market? What do you think businesses are grappling with these days?
Yeah, good question. I think, boy, I'm going to go high level and then I'm going to bring it down to like pragmatic level. I think at a high level, the market is struggling with, do they have the right e-commerce platform?
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you why. A couple things. But only about 50 to 60% of manufacturers have invested in e-commerce, and a lot of them are still running a homegrown, custom-built platform that's 10 to 15 years old. And that obviously affects the ability to add functionality, speed to market, all kinds of issues. And I think a lot of other B2B merchants, think of it as distributors primarily, bought a platform during COVID primarily to keep the lights on because their salespeople couldn't get in the door. And they didn't do a lot of due diligence. It wasn't a strategic decision. It was simply the economy was in a point where they had to do something. So I think there's a lot of companies. And then coming out of COVID, I guess maybe the other thing is a lot of companies now realize that digital is going to be their primary channel, but now they have to think about what are the right platforms to make that channel work best for them and best for their customers. So that's like the 30,000 foot narrative quite a bit in the market. When it comes down to like the challenges in B2B, I think a lot of the challenges that we're hearing are some things that Znode solves for, which is things like, well, we actually don't have one store. We have 8 stores and we have 8 different brands. We need different store experiences. Two, we've got multiple price lists and our ERP is very slow to connect to. We need to figure out how to handle account-based pricing, etc. And then three, I think more and more as marketing and marketers and IT leaders and e-commerce leaders are coming together, they're also seeing an opportunity for even more personalization in the shopping experience. And that doesn't necessarily mean after login, because in B2B, a lot of times personalization after logins based upon the login, customer specific pricing, customer specific catalog. It's more about the journey pre-login. It could be top of the funnel content. It could be providing the right set of products and content to the customer as they hit the site to get them in to create an account and become a customer, or before they enter into their account and engaging them with the right content. So it's really about personalization and personalization effectiveness outside of a logged in experience in B2B.
I would echo that. I think that's well put. Um, as the architect of some of those homegrown solutions, I mean, they do stand the test of time.
Mhm.
I do find that, for some of those scenarios, some of those digital experiences that we're still supporting, boy, I wish Znode had been around, several years ago. Because a lot of those custom solutions don't have any flexibility. They were built with the right business rules. They enhance workflow, they enhance supply chain. But now we're in a scenario where you really do want to elevate the digital experience because those procurement officers, those purchasers, they're people too. And they want a good, pleasant experience. The interface that you provide as the manufacturer is a lot of times the tool that that person is going to be using for a significant amount of their time. And if you can build something that has a good user experience for that individual and you made that just a little bit more of an enjoyable day, you win. It goes a lot further.
Absolutely. I think some of those homegrown tools are also just a window into the ERP,
True.
which is a true e-commerce experience, right?
Yep.
And there's a big difference there. And there's it's a gray area, but there's a scale there from window into ERP to true personalized, great e-commerce experience.
Right. So, Sergey, you've heard this chat. Some of those challenges being very familiar to a lot of people in the B2B space, a lot of people in the e-commerce space. But as I'm listening to Tom, I'm also thinking that's a pretty common scenario for a lot of people trying to elevate their entire digital experience. Doesn't matter that it's an e-commerce one, but it is particularly relevant to B2B. I think that there is an opportunity there where they haven't quite necessarily embraced what it means to have a wholesome digital experience. So where does Sitefinity fit into this story?
Hmm. Certainly a rich story. And I think we're all used to e-commerce, mostly associated with B2C and product recommendations and that sort of stuff. This is our own personal experience with transacting online. And B2B mode is quite different for multiple reasons. But I'd like to step back a little and introduce the notion of a brand into the e-commerce context.
Right.
Because I think without that, we don't have a complete picture. And whether these are tractor manufacturers or construction tools manufacturers or air filters or whatever it may be, headphones, right?
Hmm.
Professional headphones. Their first is a brand, right? So there's awareness in going for a purchase, and that awareness is created and supported by content. So while brands needs to have a digital path to transacting with their customers and through their partners, which I think is kind of the operational part, but you first need to get the customers interested in buying their stuff, right? Or if they have one sort of stuff from the brand, maybe they would be interested in some other stuff from the brand. And this is where content comes, I think, to the front, because with awareness and engagement, and these are more terms uh, sort of associated with B2C, but as a B2B vendor, Progress is a B2B vendor, we sell Sitefinity to businesses. There is quite a complex setup and interaction and informing people what they may be interested in, why, and sort of setting up the whole journey leading to a purchase experience. So that's I think pretty important for organizations to consider. And this falls more so on the anonymous part of the journey. We may not necessarily know who these visitors are. If we happen to know if they happen to be, I know, registered customers, etc., we may have their, I know, digital signature, so to speak, through cookies and whatnot, and then we can feed them the right informational content to expand their horizons. So when B2B e-commerce and content pool together in a conversation, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I'm putting an order for, 12
Right.
positions that I've already ordered previously, right? I just need to go through a punch list and hit the transact button, whatever that button is. There's a lot more informational space
Yeah.
around these transactions, and this is where the right content delivered to the right persona is exceedingly important.
I think that's very true. Just wrote down a sort of few notes as you were speaking there. First of all, well done recalling our client base. You mentioned construction equipment, tools, and air
Of course,
filters.
yes.
So I was like, I
Well
appreciate
familiar. We've
that.
worked together for a while.
We do have a few examples that fall into those categories. But it is the awareness that the content can bring into that experience. Yeah, let's use heavy equipment. That is a very big market. And I think any sort of B2B commerce experience might be selling straightforward widgets, or they might be selling more complicated things. There's still a vast audience collection of audience segments within your customer base. The
Absolutely,
person
yes.
who's in the market for a large piece of a heavy equipment may not be the same kind of person in the market for a garden variety piece of equipment, but you can still buy that from the same
From the
manufacturer.
same manufacturer or from the same distributor.
Yeah, exactly. And so being able to more specifically target those two segments of your existing client base can be very powerful. And then you also mentioned it's not just about the product catalog. It's not just about the punch list. A lot of these clients that we work for make higher margins, better margins, and sometimes even more revenue off of parts and service. And sort of those ancillary
Programs,
yeah,
parts,
programs,
add-ons, whatever.
consumables.
Yep.
Yeah. And you need content to explain that, to put that in front of the right people based on purchase history, based on audience segment. And then you also mentioned sort of that informational space around the actual placement of the order. And it's bringing forward, in my mind, a couple of our clients as well, who I know the orders actually go through system to system. There's nothing that gets done through the click of a user, although the choice is made there. The specs are downloaded there. The shopping list is refined there, but then it goes into their own system, and then the two computers talk to each other to actually place the order and have the fulfillment done. So in that scenario, that content that you're delivering in order to support that decision making is highly valuable. You want rich content, you
Absolutely.
want images, that kind of thing. Shall we take a look at this?
We should.
All right. So I'm going to take over the screen here. And Sergey and Tom, you tell me if I miss a scenario. I'm going to move my Zoom window control out of the way. All right. We have in front of us an air filter company. This is based on a project that we have been working on and have completed and support. We've been doing this. We've had this relationship for several years. But we've kind of stripped away a lot of the site for the purposes of this demo, and we've integrated Znode with Sitefinity. So this is a Sitefinity front end, and we're elevating that experience by having product information and the e-commerce experience driven by Znode. So we're talking about personalized content and how that can drive more ROI, drive results, drive engagement. Let's understand that a bit more. So in this case, our landing page is for airports, for the aviation industry. And this site is a really good example of rich content combined with product information. You're a procurement officer, you're a facilities and operations manager. You really want to make sure that you're picking vendors that are going to support you across your facility, in this case, across all of your needs. And what's happening here is being able to communicate and convey exactly what that value is from this particular brand. We keep scrolling, we get into some highlighted products. And I'll show you how this all gets built in a minute. We'll go into the page editor, but this product information coming through straight from Znode, I can swap out those cards very easily. I continue scrolling. I've got some design embellishments, something that makes me sort of feel like I really, understand this brand. We get down into, a call to action to view some current promotions. We've got a campaign that we're launching to promote a new product that's launching. And a lot of that is kind of helping us with all of those scenarios that we just described. If we click through to that product detail page, all of this information is coming from Znode. So your e-commerce manager who's making sure that all the specs are right, the images are up to date, we got the right feature sheet in here. Those are all managed within the product catalog inside Znode. And so the cool thing is that your digital content manager, your marketing folks, they don't need to be constantly coordinating with back office and catalog to get that information. It's already promoted into the Sitefinity environment, and with certainty and clarity so that we can each sort of execute our job functions to the best of our ability and with a lot more efficacy and impact. Now, at the moment, in this example that I've got, there's not a lot of context for the current user that's browsing the site. They've clicked a couple of things, but not much yet, and we're definitely not logged in. So on the right-hand side, we're going to introduce a little bit more content to help just support the brand story. We're talking about, we want to introduce you to our CEO. We want to talk about our competitive advantage, kind of generic content that is probably relevant to any particular user. And we're going to see how that can get a little bit more sophisticated in a moment. I'm going to point out a couple of other things before we take the scenario too much further. I've also got a landing page here for this new sensor that we're launching. Man, they're the coolest, these sensors. But there's been a little bit of debate internally about whether or not text is the best way for our audience to consume the information or whether a video is going to be more compelling. And so you notice I'm refreshing the page here and the content on this page changed. Same page, different content. And that's a built-in capability of Sitefinity. We're doing an A/B test here. So we're going to try a couple of different variations of this page layout. The system is automatically going to follow the user behavior and track whether we're arriving at the desired outcome and whether we're getting to that product detail page. And then after testing for a while, it's just going to default to the one layout that optimizes the journey so we have the most impact and the most useful digital experience that we possibly can. This product card on the right-hand side is just one content element that we're able to drop on the page, again, pulling through directly from Znode. So a really cool sort of introduction to the capabilities that you can do with a rich content platform. Let's take a look at what happens to some of these experiences when we actually log in. So in this case, we're going to do an authentication. It's going to validate our user in the shopping experience, as well as on the front end experience here. And then it's going to be able to associate the rest of the experience with who that particular user is. And you'll see how that comes forward in a moment here. Okay, so if we go back to that product page or another one, slightly different. So now we've got context for who the user is, and we've got pricing, SKU, and shopping capabilities here. And as you were saying, Tom, a lot of this is kind of best practice e-commerce, B2B stuff. That price might be different based on who just logged in. But we've also got content that's different now. So we know it's an existing customer. We're showing the loyalty program. We're showing some co-marketing opportunities for our existing clients. And we've just sort of moved out of the realm of generic to something much more precise. One more scenario here, and then we'll get into the back end. It turns out this particular user who's logged in, they happened upon our site through that airport page because that's the link they found or the Google result that came up, but they're actually a hospital operations manager. So they found their way to the case study about hospitals, and they're reminding themselves about the best practices here. And there's some call to action here to get into that particular product. Let's say I log out. Let's say I come back to the site the next day. I've got it bookmarked, or I'm still here on this particular page. It's done that content targeting now. It has picked up on the fact that I'm interested in that hospital story, and it has changed this product launch announcement to be something more relevant for that hospital operations user. If I go back to any of these products now, the right-hand sidebar has changed to be more appropriate for that particular audience segment. And so I'll show you how that works by logging into Sitefinity here. There's going to be a few things I'm going to show here. I'm going to show the page editor. I'm going to show the A/B testing quickly and how that actually works. I'm going to show the integration with Znode and where those products are coming in, and then we'll understand how the personalization worked. So if we go in and take a look at that landing page that we started the demo with, what's really cool about Sitefinity is just how appropriate the back end interface is for that front end experience. There we go. What you see is what you get. And that is pretty cool. There's a lot of fidelity that comes along with using a content management system like this. I can edit the content. I can get in and I can start to build out my own layouts. I can add section controls and content blocks, and I can get into any sort of grid layout that I want. I can start to really refine this without needing to go to my design team or developer. So that's all, again, best practice stuff. We see that in a lot of systems. But what's really cool now is we get into that product carousel, these product cards. This is where you can see the highlight of the fact that we're pulling in from Znode. So when the site was designed, we have those card templates. There's some content that fits into the button at the bottom, a photo at the top, a description in the middle. Any content in the system that has that kind of those kinds of fields, that kind of information architecture is something that can populate the exact same template. In this case, we've got a module, a dynamic module in Sitefinity that's used to hold the Znode products. That is integrated with the Znode PIM, with the product catalog from Znode. You make a change over there, you add content images, it's going to come through to Sitefinity, and I have the ability to pick any product that I want and swap it out for another in order to continue to build out my digital experience here. So as I'm building out what is a much more wholesome, and I don't know if you can tell that just changed to a yellow product on the right-hand side. A digital content manager gets really excited by this kind of stuff. So if you've got somebody on your team that has a lot more creativity and a lot more enthusiasm for what could be, and they're a little bit frustrated that the tool set isn't enabling them to do the job the way they know is possible, take a closer look at this, because I think there's a lot more power that you can get with these kinds of solutions. We'll stay on here for just a minute and we'll take a look at the personalization. So we saw in the front end demo that I was doing, these content bits changed. We changed the hospital, the promotion to a hospital message. We've got audience segments defined in here, and I can switch my control of this content to help me define what shows up specifically for those audience segments. You probably want to know how that works. So let's go take a look at the personalization within Sitefinity. So this is, again, a capability built right into Sitefinity. For our demo, we had a couple of examples set up. We had existing customers, we had hospital prospects. So we're running a campaign specifically for our hospital audience. We know it's a key target for us. We're going to create a segment that identifies those visits, identifies those users. In this case, I kept it simple. If a visitor on the website made it to that hospital case study page, I'm going to put them into this audience segment. There's all kinds of characteristics that you can use to build your own segments. It could be geographic, location-based. It could be the landing page, the first page that you visit in your journey, or it could be any page in that journey. It could be the duration. Maybe you've spent a lot of time on the page and we start to adapt the content to that type of user, time of day. It can also be based on user profile details. So if they are logged in and we know that they're a particular customer, they belong to a specific account, or they belong to a specific class of accounts. These are our national accounts. These are our regional accounts. We can start to be more precise with how we're marketing and updating our content for those specific audiences. We're going to do another webinar in another month or so. We're going to talk more specifically about Sitefinity Insight, a really powerful platform for understanding and measuring the effectiveness of this content and being able to pull in some of your other data and touch points from your organization if that's appropriate. And you can use that to further enhance these profiles into personas, understand your lead scoring, track specific conversions, that kind of thing. But again, that's another webinar that we can come back to. So there we've got some pretty cool capabilities. You can mix and match your rule sets to get to some pretty sophisticated audience segmentation targeting rules in the personalization engine within Sitefinity. So looking again at that Znode product list, we've used the dynamic module capacity within Sitefinity in order to build out a mirror of that content catalog in Sitefinity, all up to date from you make a change in the Znode backend and it comes through here so that you can continue your content journey with a lot of confidence. So the last thing I want to show as we're going into this story is how that A/B test works. So I've gone into this sensor landing page, and over here I've got that same product card. In this case, I just chose one product from the Znode catalog, and I can then start to move this page around and I can change the layout. So in this case, if I'm doing an A/B test, I've got two variations of this page. One that's original, and another one where we're going to go with a no video layout. There's always a bit of contention there. Is that engaging or not? I can move these products around. I can change the content experience with a drag and drop. You get the idea. And then if we look at how that A/B test actually works, we can specify a campaign timeline, or we can leave it open-ended and make a manual decision. But then the system is going to alternate between those two page variations. It's going to measure for, did I reach my goal? Did I get to that product detail page? And there's reports and monitoring that goes on there to then let the system decide, or let us manually decide to switch and default to exclusively one of those product variations. And that's kind of regardless of who the audience is. Although I'm not sure if you mentioned, if you noticed on that settings page, you can also run these tests for specific audience segments. So you don't have to globally do it. You can actually run an A/B test just for your hospital prospect user group. So a lot of pretty cool capabilities there, and really wanted to highlight what the richness of bringing that content experience into the fold with Sitefinity and Znode when they're integrated together. What did you think, Tom?
Nice job.
Thank
I
you.
think it makes a lot of sense. I definitely think it makes a lot of sense for manufacturers in particular. Yeah.
Um, Sergey, did I touch on all the right parts for your satisfaction today?
Well, did I push all the right buttons? Yes, you did. The
We're just
what I
scratching the surface for
right.
sure. Yeah.
What I wanted to remark, Scott, and of course this all comes off pretty slick with the previews and the drag and drop and whatnot, but this is all indeed drag and drop, point and click, right? There's no place that
Hmm.
you need to write JavaScript to
Right.
run your A/B test.
Right.
There isn't a reason for you to go to a separate browser to preview what's going on, right? It's
Right.
all within the system. The statistics are integrated.
Hmm.
And with respect to personalization, and of course, it's a very wide field, all
Yeah.
in all, right? And there are certainly dangers of trying to do too much too fast with that. But there are so many ways in which you can define your audiences, right? And of course,
That's right.
you remarked on that, and we just saw the controls that are immediately available in Sitefinity CMS.
Hmm.
And there's a whole different layer to that based on behavioral patterns, demographic information, numerical modeling, and even AI that you can bring to the bear
Yeah. With Sitefinity Insight.
with
Yeah.
Sitefinity Insight. So not to sort of get distracted from, okay, well, you can create meaningful personalized content variations for your prospective audiences, for your current audiences, and you don't need to be JavaScript experts to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
It
so
it it, it
that's
is.
the power of a good system.
Yeah, yeah. So it is something that a content manager, a digital experience manager can do using the tool, the dashboard, the system itself, and not needing a developer or technical assistance from that
That's right.
perspective.
Yep.
If anybody sort of on the call on the has any questions, fire them in. We're just wrapping up at the moment. And Tom, as we do sort of close things out here, what was the more compelling part of what you just saw in your from your perspective?
Uh, Content, this speed to market with content,
Yeah.
right? That's the big thing is e-commerce platforms, especially B2B, are very much operationally focused platforms for getting the customer to what they want if they've specified it versus somebody who's out shopping, which is more of a B2C model, but they find that product through top of the funnel content. They create an account, then you find out that they're a specific segment, and then you start serving them the content that's specific to them that helps them in their buying journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's personalization. That's the short way of saying it,
There
Scott.
you go. Well, hopefully we've given everybody just a little bit of something to think about, at least, and to take back to your team to challenge them on as well, whether or not you're using Znode and Sitefinity. These are concepts that are going to help you have more impact with your B2B commerce experience. You can get creative. There's ways to do this. We'd love to show you more about how to do it with Sitefinity and Znode together, obviously. But at the very least, we hope that by watching and taking this all in, you've just become a better digital content and e-commerce manager. Thank you very much for joining me, Tom. Thanks a lot, Sergey.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
Great job, Scott.
Pleasure indeed, Scott. Wonderful demo.
Thank you. All right.
Wonderful story. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.